Wesley Foster didn't mean to start a scene inside the downtown coffee shop. He just didn't like the way the guy in the tailored gray blazer had cornered the woman near the pastry counter. He had only come in for a cheap black coffee and a muffin for his daughter's school lunch, but when he saw the man blocking the woman's path, talking too fast and too close, something in him snapped. "Hey," Wesley said, stepping between them without thinking. She said no. "Back off." The guy's slicked back hair, smug grin looked him up and down like Wesley was gum on the bottom of his overpriced loafers. "Do you mind?" "Yeah," Wesley said flatly. "I do." The woman blinked, surprised, then grateful. She was dressed sharp dark slacks, white blouse, trench coat that probably cost more than Wesley's monthly rent, but her eyes were wide, her jaw tight. She looked like she'd been seconds away from losing it. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You're welcome," he said, then turned back to the pushy guy. "Walk away." The man scoffed, muttered something about hero complexes, and finally stormed off. Wesley exhaled. The woman tucked a strand of dark brown hair behind her ear, trying to compose herself. "That was unexpected," he gave a half shrug. "Didn't like the way he was talking to you." "What gave it away?" she said, trying to joke, but the tremble in her voice gave her away. "Everything," Wesley said. "You okay?" She nodded. "Yeah, I'm just thank you." He nodded once and turned to leave, but she called after him. "Wait," Wesley turned back. "You didn't even ask what he wanted." "I didn't care." That made her smile, genuinely this time. "I'm Elle Orman," he offered a hand. "Wesley Foster." They shook. "You have no idea who that was, do you?" she asked. "Nope." "Should I?" He's a known scam artist who's been targeting women who own businesses downtown. Claims to be an investor, but it's all smoke. He's been trying to get a meeting with me for weeks. Wesley blinked. "You own a business," she chuckled. "A few." He scratched his neck. "Guess I picked the right woman to defend." Elle tilted her head. "Guess you did." A moment passed. "I owe you a coffee," she said. Wesley glanced down at his $5 bill and the half-eaten muffin in his hand. "I'm good." "No," she insisted. "Sit, please." He hesitated. "I promise I'm not trying to scam you," she added with a teasing smile. He sat, they talked, and he couldn't stop staring at her smile. Later that day, Wesley picked up his daughter, Bella, from her after-school art class. "Did you eat the muffin?" he asked, buckling her into her car seat. "Half," she said. "It was kinda dry." "Yeah, well, it was 2 days old," Bella giggled. "You're the best dad ever." He kissed her forehead. "You're just saying that because I let you eat chocolate cereal for dinner last night," she grinned. Wesley drove home, his thoughts drifting back to Elle's eyes, the way she leaned forward when he spoke, like she was actually interested. He hadn't dated in years. Between work, Bella, and scraping by, romance wasn't in the cards. He worked construction jobs during the day, cleaned offices at night, and tried to be the kind of dad Bella deserved. People like Elle Orman didn't exist in his world. But when he got home, there was a note tucked into his lunch bag. It had her name, a number, and 3 words. "Coffee next time." He stared at it for a long time. Elle sat in the back of her black town car, staring out the window at the city lights. Her assistant rambled on the phone about board meetings and licensing deals, but Elle wasn't listening. She was thinking about Wesley. She Googled him, nothing. No LinkedIn, no company bio, no media hits. He hadn't known who she was. That alone was rare. Everyone in her world, especially men, knew her name, her net worth, her influence, but Wesley had jumped in without hesitation. Not because of who she was, but because of how she was being treated. She liked that. A lot. They met again 3 days later. Elle showed up at the playground near Wesley's apartment, wearing jeans, white sneakers, and a hoodie. No makeup, no driver, no boardroom polish. Wesley was pushing Bella on the swings. When Elle approached, Bella waved. Hi, Elle said, smiling. "I'm Elle, I'm Bella," she said proudly. "Are you my dad's friend?" Elle glanced at Wesley. He shrugged and smiled. "I guess she is." They sat on the bench while Bella ran off to the monkey bars. "You didn't have to come all the way here," Wesley said. "I wanted to. Not exactly your usual scene." "I've seen enough glass offices," Elle said. "This is better." They talked for an hour, then 2. Wesley finally asked, "So what exactly do you do?" Elle hesitated, then said, "I'm the CEO of Orman Tech." Wesley blinked. "Wait, like the Orman Tech?" "Yeah," he leaned back, stunned. "You run that?" "That company's everywhere. You didn't Google me." I don't really have time for that, she laughed. You might be the only guy in the city who hasn't. Well, I'm just a regular guy. I fix things, I work, I raise my kid. I like that. His brows lifted. You like that I'm broke and exhausted, Elle smiled softly. I like that you're real. For the first time in a long time, Wesley didn't know what to say, but Bella came running back at that moment, arms outstretched. Dad, watch me do the slide backwards. Wesley stood. Let's see it. Elle watched him chase after Bella, laughing, arms open. He was good, kind, solid, and Elle felt something she hadn't felt in years, safe. That night, Elle lay in bed in her penthouse suite, staring at the ceiling. She was falling for him, she could feel it. And she didn't know what scared her more, the fact that he had no idea who she really was, or the fact that he might not care at all. Wesley tightened the last bolt on the radiator and wiped his hands on a rag that had seen better days. The old brownstone smelled like mildew and cheap paint, but the landlord paid cash and he needed every dollar. He checked the clock on his phone. If he left now and didn't hit traffic, he'd make it to Bella's piano recital just in time. He packed up his tools, jogged down the stairs, and tossed his bag into the backseat of his truck. It sputtered to life with a groan. He muttered a promise to the engine, one more month, just hold on. The school parking lot was nearly full. He slid into a spot near the back, grabbed the plastic container of brownies he'd made last night while Bella read out loud from her mystery book, and hurried inside. He spotted her immediately. Hair pulled into a high ponytail, sitting in the second row, eyes scanning the crowd. When she saw him, she waved both arms like she was guiding a plane to land. You made it, she whispered fiercely as he sat beside her. Wouldn't miss it. She leaned into his side as the lights dimmed. The recital was an hour of mismatched tempos and off-key notes, but when Bella's name was called, she straightened her spine and marched to the piano with all the seriousness of a concert soloist. Wesley's heart clenched as her fingers found the keys. She played slowly, carefully, her lips moving in silent counting. When she finished, she stood, bowed, and beamed at him. He clapped the hardest. Afterward, they stood in the hallway with other parents and kids, sipping fruit punch from tiny cups. Bella was mid-sentence about a classmate's glitter shoes when Wesley felt a hand on his shoulder. Hope there's still a brownie left for me. He turned. Elle stood there wearing a blazer over a t-shirt with a faded band logo and jeans that looked too casual for anyone else, but somehow perfect on her. What are you doing here? He asked, stunned. I asked Bella which recital was yours. She told me the time and place. She looked at the container. And that you make the best brownies in the world. Bella grinned proudly. He adds cinnamon, it's a secret. He looked between them. You two have been talking, Elle nodded. She's an excellent negotiator. I had to promise to help her build a website for her lemonade stand. Bella gasped. You remembered. I never forget a contract, Elle said seriously. Wesley handed her a brownie. I didn't expect you here. Thought I'd see you in your element, she said. I wasn't wrong. He watched her bite into the brownie, eyes lighting up. All right, she said. That's unfairly good. Bella tugged his sleeve. Can she come to dinner? Wesley hesitated. I didn't plan anything. I saw hot dogs in the fridge, Bella said. Elle gave a dramatic gasp. Did you say hot dogs? I'm staying. He laughed despite himself. Dinner was chaotic. Wesley burned 2 buns. Bella spilled ketchup, and Elle somehow ended up flipping pancakes because Bella wanted breakfast dessert. Wesley leaned against the counter, watching her whisk batter like she'd been in their kitchen 100 times. Later, after Bella had fallen asleep mid-cartoon, Elle sat on the couch, legs tucked under her, her fingers tracing the rim of her water glass. She's incredible, she said softly. Wesley nodded. She is. Elle looked at him. You do a lot with very little. I get by. I don't think people realize how much strength that takes. He didn't know how to respond to that, so he didn't. Instead, he asked, what about you? Any family? She shook her head. Not anymore. He didn't press. I've worked most of my life, she said. Built what I have from the ground up, but sometimes I wonder if it cost me more than I realized. He studied her. You regret it? I don't know. Her voice was quiet. Maybe. Wesley shifted. You could have anyone. Why are you here? She met his eyes. Because when I'm here, I don't feel like I have to be anyone. He didn't have an answer for that either. The silence between them stretched, not uncomfortable, just full. Then Elle said, "I've got a charity event this Saturday. It's at the Hilton rooftop. Black tie, lots of glassware." "Completely ridiculous," he raised a brow. "Sounds fancy." "It is," she hesitated. "Come with me," Wesley blinked. "You want me to crash your gala? I want you to be my date. I don't even own a tie. I'll take care of that." He narrowed his eyes. "You're serious?" Completely. He glanced toward the hallway where Bella slept. "What would I even talk about?" "Whatever you want." He let out a breath. "You're really not used to hearing no," she smiled. "Is that a yes? I'll think about it." Her eyes lit with a quiet challenge. "I'll take that as a maybe." He didn't say it, but the truth was already forming in his chest. He'd go. Because when she looked at him like that, like he was worth showing off to the world, it was harder to remember why he'd started building walls in the first place. And somehow, she was already walking right through them. Wesley stood in the center of his bedroom, staring at the tuxedo laid out on the bed like it didn't belong to him, which, technically, it didn't. Elle had sent it over that morning with a handwritten card that simply said, "No excuses." The suit was tailored pressed and came with shoes so polished he could see his reflection in them. Bella sat cross-legged on the floor, holding the bow tie like it was a puzzle. "How does this even work?" "I'm still figuring that out," Wesley muttered, struggling with the cufflinks. "You look like a movie star," she said with absolute conviction. He laughed under his breath, shaking his head. "I look like someone pretending to be a movie star. You're going to a rooftop party. You have to look like someone important." "I'm going because someone important asked." Bella tilted her head. "Do you like her?" Wesley hesitated, the question hitting harder than he expected. "Yeah," he said finally. "I do." There was a knock on the door. Mrs. Landon, their neighbor from 2 floors down, peeked in with her usual warm smile. "Time to head out, Romeo." Wesley grabbed his wallet and keys. "Thanks again for watching her." "Oh please, this one's got me playing tea party and bingo. I should be paying you." Bella hugged him tight. "Don't forget to dance." Wesley kissed her hair. "Don't stay up too late." Outside, a black car waited at the curb. The driver stepped out and opened the door without a word. Wesley slid in, suddenly very aware of his posture, his shoes, the fact that he'd shaved twice just to get a clean jawline. The city rolled by outside the window, all lit up and glittering like something out of a dream he'd never dared to have. When the car finally pulled up to the Hilton, he stepped out into a different world. The rooftop was draped in soft golden lights, and a string quartet played under a canopy of stars. Servers floated between clusters of people holding champagne flutes, and the skyline stretched out like a painting behind them. Wesley adjusted his collar and tried not to look like someone who'd installed drywall that morning. Then Elle appeared. Her dress shimmered silver in the light, elegant but unshowy, like it had been chosen to blend in and failed spectacularly. Her hair was swept back, revealing delicate earrings and the curve of her neck. She smiled when she saw him really smiled, and the noise of the party faded for a second. "You clean up better than anyone I've ever met," she said. "You look like you belong up here," he said, voice low. She stepped closer. "And you look like the only person I want to have beside me." He offered his arm. She took it without hesitation. They made their way through the crowd, people turning to glance, some murmuring, a few whispering behind champagne glasses. Elle ignored it all. Wesley leaned toward her. "I think your friends are trying to figure out who the guy in the rental tux is," she grinned. "They're just jealous they didn't think to bring someone interesting." A man in a deep navy suit approached, his expression cool and calculating. "Elle, I didn't know you were bringing a guest." "You didn't ask," she said smoothly. "Wesley, this is Adrian Sloan. He's on the board." Wesley extended a hand. Adrian ignored it. "I'm sure Elle's told you all about the company," he said instead. Before Wesley could answer, Elle cut in. "Actually, we've been talking about more important things, like second-grade piano recitals and the structural integrity of apartment pipes." Adrian's mouth twitched, but he said nothing more before walking off. Wesley raised a brow. "Friendly guy. He doesn't like surprises," Elle said. "And I'm a surprise." "You're a hurricane in the middle of a boardroom," she said softly. "They don't know what to do with you." He looked around. "And what about you?" She turned to face him fully. "I haven't stopped thinking about you since the day we met." He opened his mouth, but someone tapped a champagne glass nearby, calling for attention. Elle's name was announced. She stepped forward to give a speech, but before walking away, she looked over her shoulder. "Stay right there." Wesley watched her take the microphone. Her voice was confident, controlled, every word delivered with the kind of poise that came from years of being listened to. But then, halfway through her speech, she looked directly at him and faltered, just for a second. Then she smiled. And finished stronger than ever. When she returned, he didn't wait. "You're amazing up there," he said. "So are you, down here." They stood in silence for a moment, the music soft behind them, then Elle turned to him. "Come with me." She led him to a quieter corner of the rooftop, past the noise and the clinking glasses to a terrace that overlooked the city. Lights stretched endlessly in every direction. The wind was cool, but she didn't seem to feel it. She leaned against the railing. "I haven't brought anyone into this part of my life in a long time." He stepped beside her. "I've never been in this part of anyone's life." She looked up at him. "Are you scared?" "A little." "Me too." He reached for her hand. She let him take it. Then she said something that caught him off guard. "My father never thought I'd be enough." He turned to her. "Then he was a fool." Her eyes shimmered, but she didn't look away. "You make me want to believe in things again," she whispered. He brushed a lock of hair behind her ear. "Then believe in me." She leaned in without hesitation, and when they kissed, it wasn't tentative or unsure, it was the kind of kiss that rewrote everything. Behind them, the city kept moving. But for that moment, nothing mattered except the way she clung to his lapel, and the way he held her like she was the most priceless thing he'd ever touched, because she was. And he knew then he wasn't just falling for her, he'd already fallen. Wesley stood on the edge of the polished marble floor, his hand still warm from where Elle had last held it. The gala had ended hours ago, but she'd asked him to stay while she wrapped up some final conversations. Now the rooftop was nearly empty, the music gone, the city quiet beneath them. He watched her from a distance, the way she carried herself, the way people leaned in when she spoke. But there was something different now. When her eyes finally found him again, the polished composure softened. She looked like the woman he'd shared pancakes with in his kitchen, not the one who built empires. As they stepped into the elevator together, the doors closed with a soft chime. "I didn't want the night to end," she said, leaning back against the mirrored wall. He glanced sideways at her. "You're not used to quiet, are you?" "No," she admitted. "Not like this." "Then let's make more of it." She studied him for a beat. "Come with me," he frowned. "Where?" "My place. I want you to see it." Wesley hesitated. "Bella's at Mrs. Landon's tonight. I promised I'd be back before morning. You will be. I'll have you home before the sun even thinks of rising." The elevator opened into a private foyer, and she led him through a set of sleek black double doors. Her penthouse was nothing like he'd expected. It wasn't cold or sterile, it was warm. Bookshelves lined one wall, filled with worn paperbacks and childhood photos tucked between them. A half-finished puzzle sat on the coffee table. A dog-eared notebook lay open on the arm of a couch. He turned in a slow circle. "This looks like someone actually lives here." "I do," she said quietly. "Most people assume I have 5 assistants and a live-in chef. Truth is, I like being alone." Wesley walked to the window. The skyline glowed in the distance. "You're not alone tonight." "No," she said. "I'm not." She poured them each a glass of something amber and smooth. He took a cautious sip and raised a brow. "That's way too expensive for someone like me." "Good thing I'm not sharing it with someone like you," she said. They sat together on the couch, the city laid out before them. The silence stretched, but it wasn't empty. "I have to ask," he said finally. "Why me?" Elle set her glass down. "Because you didn't flinch when you saw how different our lives are. You didn't want anything from me, and you didn't treat me like a prize." "You're not," he said. "You're a person. A damn impressive one, but still a person. I've had men call me intimidating, cold, unapproachable. You called me real." He looked at her, then reached out and took her hand again. "Because you are." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "You make me feel free." "I make you feel like yourself," he corrected softly. The clock ticked past midnight. She pulled back just enough to look at him. "I've been thinking about something," she said. "Dangerous," he teased. "I want to invest in your future." He stiffened. "Elle. Not like that, not charity. I've seen how you work. You've got ideas, you know how to build things, you're good with people. You're not just scraping by, you're surviving with talent most investors would kill to find. He shook his head slowly. You don't have to do this. I want to, on paper. Full partnership, your name on the sign, your designs, your crew, your rules. And if this doesn't work out between us, then you'll still have something that's yours. That's how I know I'm not doing this for me. He stared at her hands. I've never had anyone believe in me like that. Then it's about time someone did. Wesley exhaled long and slow. I'll think about it, she smiled. I can live with that. The next morning, he was home before the streetlights blinked off. Bella was curled up on the couch with a blanket and a note from Mrs. Landon nearby. He tucked her in gently, brushing a curl from her cheek. Later that afternoon, Elle arrived at the community center where Bella's lemonade stand was set up. She wore jeans and sneakers again, standing beside Bella like they'd been business partners for years. Wesley watched from the side, arms folded, heart full. She's got your confidence, Elle said. She's got your ability to negotiate, he replied. They laughed, and for a moment, nothing else existed. By the end of the week, Wesley walked into the bank with papers in hand. His full name was printed beside Elle's on a new business license. Orman and Foster Renovations. She'd insisted her name go second. He stared at the document for a long time before signing it. Later that night, Elle found him on the roof of his building. He'd set up a table with 2 plastic chairs, a string of borrowed lights, and a takeout box of their favorite dumplings. This is the fanciest dinner I've ever had, she said, sitting down. I thought you might be tired of caviar. I'm never tired of you. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small box. Her breath caught, but when she opened it, it wasn't a ring. It was a key. To here, she asked. No. To everywhere. She looked at him, eyes shining. Are you sure? I've never been more. She stood and wrapped her arms around him. Then let's build something together. He held her close, and the city glimmered behind them, not as bright as her smile, not even close. Wesley stepped through the glass doors of the new office space, pausing just inside. The walls were still bare, the floor covered in drop cloths and scattered blueprints, but the bones of the place were strong original brick, high ceilings, steel beams exposed like veins. The kind of building people paid fortunes to make look old when this one already was. Elle stood near the far window, her phone in one hand, the other tucked into the pocket of a camel wool coat. When she saw him, she ended the call and walked over, brushing dust from the edge of a table as she passed. You're early, she said. I was too restless to wait. He looked around. It's better than I pictured. I thought you'd like it. It's got character. It'll need a lot of work. That's why I brought you in, he chuckled. You say that like you haven't been signing off on every bolt and fixture. Elle tilted her head. I trust your eye more than mine. He leaned against the windowsill. That's dangerous. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a folded slip of paper. You're going to want to see this. He opened it. A copy of the final zoning approval, fully cleared, no appeals pending, no delays. He looked up sharply. How? I talked to the city planner myself. And I may have invited his wife to next month's gala. Wesley let out a low whistle. You're terrifying when you want something. I learned from the best. He watched her face for a moment, then said, You've changed. She blinked. Is that a bad thing? No, you're still you. But you laugh more now, you pause before you answer, you let people in. Elle didn't respond right away. It's because I finally feel like I'm building something that matters. You always were, not like this. He took a step closer. I've been thinking about what you said. About investing in my future, her posture shifted slightly. I want to make you part of it, officially. Elle blinked. You already did. The license has my name on it. I'm not talking about the business. She froze. He pulled a ring from his jacket pocket. Simple band, no stone. No designer label, just clean metal and quiet certainty. I don't need a perfect life. I just want the one where I wake up next to you. She stared at him, for once in her life speechless. I know it's fast, he said, but I've never been more sure of anything. Elle stepped forward slowly, like she was walking toward something sacred. She took the ring from his hand and slid it on her finger without hesitation. You didn't ask, she whispered. I didn't need to. She wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him like she'd been waiting years for this moment. Later that evening, Bella sat on the floor of Wesley's apartment, surrounded by cardboard boxes and a half-eaten pizza. Elle sat beside her, one heel off, hair up in a loose twist. "So," Bella said, licking sauce from her thumb, "are you gonna be my stepmom?" Elle blinked. I guess so. Cool, can I call you Captain because you run everything?" Wesley laughed from the kitchen. "Only if I get to be first mate." "Nope," Bella said. "You're the ship." Elle leaned into the couch cushions, smiling. "I'll take it." The next few months passed in a blur. The office came together with exposed beams sanded to a golden finish and pendant lights hanging from the ceiling like stars. Wesley hired 3 crew members, all people he'd worked with over the years, each with their own stories and second chances. Elle continued to run Orman Tech, but started stepping back from the relentless boardroom pace. She handed off some of her titles, declined 2 major interviews, and started attending Bella's science fairs and spelling bees. One afternoon, Wesley walked into the office to find Elle sitting at his desk, sketching something on a napkin. He leaned over her shoulder. "What's that?" "A treehouse." "For Bella, don't laugh." He kissed the top of her head. "Why would I laugh? You're finally starting to think like me." She looked up at him. "I think I've always been trying to." Their wedding was small, just family, some close friends, and a handful of people from the community. Elle wore a simple white dress with no train. Wesley wore a gray vest and a tie Bella had picked out with tiny gold stars on it. They got married in a garden behind a restored library, under a wooden arch Wesley had built with his own hands. Bella stood proudly between them, holding both their hands during the vows. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Elle kissed him before he could even move, and the guests cheered like it was the end of a movie. But it wasn't the end. The honeymoon was a quiet cabin upstate. No staff, no phones, just them. They hiked. They cooked. They danced barefoot on the porch to music from an old radio. One night it rained and they stayed in bed listening to the storm, skin to skin, hearts open. "I still can't believe this is ours," Elle whispered. "It always was," Wesley said. "We just had to find it." Back in the city, life settled into something new, not simple, not perfect, but real and full. Wesley opened a second location within the year, training young apprentices who'd aged out of the foster system. Elle joined the board of a nonprofit that built transitional housing for single parents. And Bella, she sold her lemonade stand to a neighbor for $20 and a glitter pen, then announced she was starting a real company with Elle's help. They named it Little Lemon Legacy. One night, Wesley came home to find the two of them sitting at the kitchen table, blueprinting a logo. He paused in the doorway, watching them. Elle looked up. "We're gonna need a carpenter." He leaned against the frame. "I might know a guy," she grinned. And in that moment, with laughter echoing off the walls, flour on the counter, and love so thick it felt like sunlight, Wesley realized something. This wasn't the life he'd expected. It was better.